Obviously, there's a lack of charity in the politicking that takes place in our church. I always say I was never cut out for politics because, politics, the root of that word comes from being polite. It's polite discussion. I'm not polite enough for politics. But there's politics and there's business. That has to be downstream from culture, and we really need to define our culture. But I like to say that culture itself is also downstream from immutable morality. That is unchanging morality. Our morality cannot change, just like dogmas and doctrines in our church. And we need to really have a solid grip on that, right? With the intellect and our knowledge, but then most importantly, to will it. St. Teresa of Calcutta says the longest journey is from the head to the heart, to enact it. And then you're defining that culture and that community that we're looking for.
Yeah, well, I think while we watch the culture, be redistributed, right? So think about it like as you're talking about this, I think a lot of us, I would even get sometimes upset because we can see a lot of humanity's going off of a cliff, right? They're doing a lot of terrible things, a lot of things that at some point many people will recognize are catastrophic, and yet like right now, like they're in vogue, right? And they're going to continue, and so we have to figure out how to be loving and to be responsible to what we've been given, and to not necessarily compete. Remember, if we are with Jesus Christ, there is no competition.
Yeah,
it is
we're
not
one body.
But you see this. There is a spirit of that, and that's just not effective. Jesus doesn't compete. The apostles don't compete. All they do is he loves people. He serves and takes responsibility, and so that's what you see with the saints and the holy people of our era. They have to do that because this culture of shame and competition. This race to the bottom, like this weirdness, right? This de-evolution of humanity. What happens if we even think about it, is that eventually there will be a dominant culture that will show up because this one's destroying itself. There's just these ideas. If the ideas are not going to promote humanity, they will kill humanity or the groups involved. That's just inescapable reality. Like
That's
you said,
the iron rule.
Yeah. So
rule by force.
Well, and the forces of just natural law. Like you can't have a society that kills itself be able to elect itself. It's just not possible. The math is not there.
Indeed.
So whether it takes 10 years or 100 years, you have now a culture that is destroying itself, and it's at the end now. It's at the end because it's now fighting reason.
Yeah, we're post-reason.
Exactly. So now what we're going to see is a new dominant culture come in, either from our country or from the outside or from the inside. But it will be a culture of life because there has to be, and you see this over and over again in the history of the world, is you'll have societies that really fall into dissipation, right? They just cannot agree on these moral understandings. They don't have family structure. There's no ability for societal trust. Right, and so they just tear each other apart, and then like the Mongols or I don't even want to pick on the Mongols. Maybe it wasn't them, but the Raiders.
You can pick on the Vikings.
Well, whatever. I'm a Viking by history, probably. So, but you figure that they
I didn't mean to touch on a pain point.
It's okay. It's okay.
You're very civil.
They just, I try.
Nowadays.
I try. Well, I just want my axe back at the end, right? So, I mean, like it's, but you figure like we're going to see a dominant culture of love. The group that loves the most will be there. The group that cannot love will be gone. That is just the evolution. You can't have a society that hates. And that's the weirdness. You have all this communication about love is love and love and love, but all you see is death, 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 suicide, death, 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 suicide, murder. And no hope. And so like it becomes like this apathy, right? This drive. But but it says, well, it's love. But it's not. And so like there is, again, it goes back to this prostitution of the mind. Do you want comfort? Can we give you as much pleasure as your will can handle? But then like distort the experience of reality. And again, like it's very weird where people are formed on every level in their homes, by television, by colleges, by their institutions, that this is reality, and yet they're miserable. And so I don't need to go into the statistics. The statistics of death, even in our own community, and suicide are terrible, even for groups that we would hope would not be. But not to create shame or scandal, again, like I want people to understand, though, that we just want to stop doing what's not working.
Right.
And realize that the people of hope and the people who have love and charity will connect and stitch the world back together, because that's what we do.
It's what we do.
But we're not going to participate and smash everything and everybody. I think the other thing is, as you're talking about this, is we have to be able to be patient with one another. We have to be able to be patient and see that the people that are doing one thing, just like I've done one thing at one point in my life, I'm not the same person. And so we have to be constantly being open and helping people to have a place to come back to. Because, like, again,
Well, all saints have a past,
yeah,
just as all sinners have a future, right?
that's right. Yeah. And so, but we forget that. Because mortal sin in general, like, I don't know if I ever, we ever talked about this before together, but you ever watched The Return of the Jedi, right?
Sure.
So there's a part in The Return of the Jedi where the Emperor is sitting there when Darth Vader's there, and he brings Luke Skywalker, and he just sits in his chair.
Got the lightsaber.
Yeah, and he's like, I can feel your anger running through you. Grab your sword and slay me so that my power can run through you. And that's how mortal sin operates. It provokes us on our righteousness.
It's like Highlander.
Yeah.
There can only be one.
That's right. It keeps building this spirit of Antichrist, right? The spirit of hate almost, right? To hate this group, to hate this person. And that's not of God. And yet it feels delicious to people. They want to find reasons to justify it. But then there are no windows in the house. We've broken them all. Then we're all upset.
That's why back in the day we had the Colosseums, right? And the peasantry were getting destroyed by beasts and killing each other for the elite's pleasure. Now I'm seeing comments online where they're saying, I didn't expect towards the end of the ages that it was going to be the billionaires that were going to beat each other up, a la Musk and Zuckerberg, for the delight of the peasants. It kind of got inverted in an interesting way there.
Yeah. Well, they're all going to be choosing their weapons soon. And, whether it's on Twitter or whatever. But you see that, like, these groups of people, right? They're competing, right? And again, like, as Christians, we don't compete. If we don't compete because we play an infinite game, they're playing a game in the world. They're playing a game where there's a winner and loser. In our game, like, Jesus already won. In our game, like, our job is to play virtue to the end. And that makes us unkillable. And I don't mean that we can't be killed, but the Spirit of Christ is unkillable because it is in constant unity to promote virtue.